Hey guys, Redneck Mini 14 here, and I'm going to do a little reloading video today with my new Lee Load-All 2 shotgun press. And I've successfully reloaded 6 shells so far, and as far as choosing how much shot goes in each, it's kind of a trial and error thing. So I've got 4 shells like this. These were some Remington Nitro Express power piston, and they had an 8-point crimp, and I put an ounce of birdshot in these with the 122 bushing for powder, and those work good. That 1 ounce of birdshot is what I wanted to put in all my shells, but unfortunately 1 ounce of birdshot wasn't enough for this shell, and not quite sure why, but because there wasn't enough birdshot in there, the crimp was pushed, it was like caved in, and the shot would leak out. And the same thing with my old Federal shells. So I went up to 1 1/8 ounce for the shot bushing, and then the powder bushing that corresponds to that is the 128 for the specific powder that I'm using. And the powder that I'm using is IMR High Shock 800X. And you gotta match up the type of powder that you use to how much powder that you need to use, and you can find that on the chart that comes with the Lee Load-All press, and that's how I've been figuring all this out. So today I'm going to reload 5 shells for you. I'm reloading these old Remington Slugger shells, and they just had the rollover crimp to begin with. So you can use an 8-point crimp or you can use a 6-point crimp. I think I'm going to try doing both today just to see how each one works, and we'll see what happens. I'm using the Remington power piston wads. 16 gauge is really hard to find wads for. These were the only kind that I found, so that's what I'm going with. And I'm using Federal primers, Federal Champion shot shell primers. And like I said earlier, with these shells I'm using the 128 bushing for powder and the 1 1/8 ounce bushing for shot. So let's get started. And the Lee Load-All will come with this little ring for resizing the brass, and the way it goes on is there's a little rim that goes around the top, and that needs to be on the top for it to work right. So you put it in your first station and you press down, and it'll do 2 things. Come on. It'll do 2 things. It'll deprime and it will resize. So now you have the little ring stuck on here, and that'll come off in the next station, and then you have no primer because it was punched out. And the primers are down here, in here, and I'll show you what they look like when they come out. Now you take your new primer and you put it in this little hole right here, and you can put this just on top of this right here, on that, and push down. Come on. There it goes. And now your ring is off, and you have a new primer. So now we go to this station, you put it in, and push down, and this side's the powder, this side's the shot. Push it over for the powder, and now you have powder. So then you take your wad, and you put your wad down there, and you push down, and you push it over for shot. And now you have the shot. Now, as far as the starting crimp goes, on the 16 gauge and the 20 gauge, the 6-point crimp is in the front and the 8-point crimp is in the back, and with the 12 gauge press it's flipped. The 8 points in the front and the 6 points in the back. So this one we're going to try a 6-point crimp. Like I said, it doesn't matter with these because they had rollover crimps to begin with. And then we're going to finish the crimp. And that's what it looks like. It's still a little caved in. It's not leaking out though. So we're going to keep an eye on those. These aren't really the most ideal shells for reloading, but unfortunately, like the Winchester Super X or the Winchester AA's, they don't really cycle through my gun very well as far as ejecting goes, because they're low brass. I need a high brass round to eject the right way. I don't know why, but that's just how it is. So I'm reloading these. And then we're going to go do the second one. Push down to deprime. I need a new primer. Put the primer in there. And you can get the priming system, the primer feed system for this press. It's like a little box with an arm on it, and you basically take this piece out, this little red piece here, and it's going to replace this, and this little slot here is where the arm comes in, and all the primers just slide down that arm and go into the hole, and that's how it feeds the primers. And I think you have to jiggle it too to get it to work. Okay, now we're going to try the 8-point crimp with these. I haven't tried this before with these shells, so we're going to see if it works any better. I think I like the 8-point crimp better, to be honest with you. It seems tighter and not as caved in. So we're going to finish off with the 8-point crimps. And I don't remember if I've said it already, but with the Federal shells, I tried the 8-point crimp. These were 6-point to begin with, but they were pretty rounded. So I tried 8-point, and that's what it looks like. Kind of messed up. So don't switch crimp types because it'll end up like that and not very good. So I have this shell set aside, and like I said, we're going to experiment with those Federals a little bit later. So right now I'm just going to worry about the Remingtons. Reprime. Put it in. Drop the powder. Drop the shot. 8-point crimp is in the back. Push down. Finish it off. And once you know what you're doing with reloading using this press, you can get into to a good rhythm, like you see here. The only thing that kind of holds you up is grabbing the next primer, like that, but not a big deal. Still a pretty decent rhythm. Push the wad down, drop the shot, start the crimp, finish the crimp. One more. Of course, I don't have too many of these shells to reload at the moment. I'll show you how many I have in just a second. But I don't shoot that shotgun that much, not anymore. Most of the shells I shot out of it were actually those federal shells, which I still don't know how to properly load them to get the crimp just right and all that. So I had like, I don't know, 20 of these sluggers. I only had 4 of these because they weren't really mine to begin with. So yeah, I have, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 more of these that I can reload, and then everything else is those federals. But I keep my in this little Walmart bucket, and you can get these buckets at most places, at hardware stores or Walmart. But I keep all my shells in here, and I have 12 gauge, 410, and 16 gauge in here. Obviously the 410s are the little skinny ones. The 12 gauge are all the red ones that are in here. I don't have any of any other color. And then the 16s are the green or the purple. So it's not too hard to recognize which is which because of the color coordination of the shells. So I don't really have to organize them too much. But first reloading video. I may make another one for the Federals once I get the Federals figured out, and I'll probably make a bunch of reloading videos whenever I start to reload for metallic cartridges. Don't expect that for a while though, because that probably won't be until next year at the soonest. So anyway, subscribe to my channel, like me on Facebook. I'm RedneckMini14, and until next time, be safe.